it means that you wish to speak. And after you are done speaking and I called on you, please turn the microphone off. And I have to remember my own rules. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Item C, approval of the minutes of the August 4th, 2022 budget hearing.
So
So
moved.
moved. It's been moved and supported. Any additions or corrections? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item.
Item D, unfinished business. Number 1, requesting commission approval of comprehensive executive budget appropriations ordinance for fiscal year 2022, 2023, and projected budget for fiscal year 2023 and 2024.
Thank you.
We have a public hearing today. May I have a motion and support to open a public hearing?
So moved.
Support. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Scott? Commissioner Baker McCormick?
Yes.
Commissioner Marecki?
Yes.
Commissioner Kinlock?
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson? Vice Chair Baydoun?
Yes.
Chair Varga?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Anyone in the chambers wishing to comment on during our public hearing today on the budget? Anyone on Zoom wishing to comment on our budget today, our proposed budget? And on the phone, wishing to comment under public comments? Any emails?
No emails have been received.
I'll entertain a motion to close public hearing.
Support.
Commissioner Scott? Commissioner Baker McCormick?
Yes.
Commissioner Marecki?
Yes.
Commissioner Kinlock?
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
Vice Chair Baydoun?
Yes.
Chair Varga?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. I'm going to call on Mr. Mark Abbo, our fiscal advisor, and I'm going to have Mark set the table for us for today, at least for this morning, of what we're going to deal with. And then I would appreciate if you would just call on people as need to be for those budgets. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have a busy day today. We have a total actually of 22 departments that are reporting over the course of the budget hearings. And today we're actually hearing from 5 of them. So it's an intense day today. Today we have Corporation Counsel, Department of Information Technology, Personnel and Human Resources, Probate Court, and then finally Sheriff's Office. Between those, the expectation is that we'll hear Corporation Counsel now within a half an hour, Information Technology. After Personnel and Human Resources, we can break for lunch, and after lunch, Probate Court and the Sheriff's Office. So again, we're starting out with a bang. It's going to be a busy day. And with that, we'll invite Corporation Counsel to make their presentation.
You may wish to stand, or if you'd like, you can take a chair right over there and sit and give your presentation. So it's up to you. Welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners. Sue Hamoud, Deputy Corporation Counsel. We've submitted a proposed budget through the Office of Management and Budget. As you all are aware, Corporation Counsel handles all the legal matters on behalf of the county. All contracts are handled and come through the Office of Corporation Counsel. And we also defend all the lawsuits against the county. Our office has handled hundreds of lawsuits in the last fiscal year, many of them culminating in either dismissals or settlements that we believe to be in the best interest of the county. I'm happy to answer any questions that this body has.
Are you happy with your budget?
We are happy with the proposed budget.
Proposed budget.
Sure.
Becky?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a couple questions. And this is from the Office of Fiscal Agency. There's a 908,000 increase in charges, fees, and fines. And it was reported by your office that the increase is due to a couple things, but one of them is to provide funding for anticipated legal service expenses for election-related activities. Can you tell me what that's about? Is this something different than what you normally do?
So two things with respect to that, Commissioner. First and foremost, our office, our office, like every other office or department within the county, is short-staffed. And, you know, we have challenges in filling the vacancies that we do have. So in some instances, we are being required to seek outside counsel services to assist us in making sure that all the county's legal services are met and obligations are met. Second of all, with respect specifically to the election-related issues, is we are seeing in the last couple of years a vast increase in election-related challenges to elections, whether it's lawsuits or just challenges in general that are requiring additional work.
Would some of these be like challenges to kick people off the ballot, that type of thing?
Yes.
Okay, I know a lot of that happened this last time.
Right. And we anticipate that that is going to be more so the norm as opposed to the exception going forward.
Okay. Also, I went through all the accomplishments your department had, which were quite a few in the last year or so. Most of these I recall we talked about or something, but one of them I just wanted an explanation on because I had not heard about this. The public service attorneys negotiated a new steam purchase agreement with Detroit Thermal, which created 150,000 savings and could lead up to $400,000 savings. Can you tell me what that was?
I apologize. I could not tell you
Okay.
what that is specifically. That would come from the attorneys that oversee the public services
Okay.
department.
Maybe is there an attorney off the top of your head that I could ask?
Yeah, and I can get that answer
Okay.
for you, Commissioner. That's
All
not a
right.
problem. I would have to talk to one of the supervisors in that group.
Okay.
But I could get
Yeah,
that.
I'm just
answer.
curious what
Sure.
this is because I have not heard about it. And also you have the public service attorneys, and maybe I'll have to look into this too, also negotiate the IGAs with the municipalities and the townships. If there are IGAs that are not coming through to the municipalities, where does someone go to find out where they're at? Would it be would it be your department?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can definitely find out where they are in the process or in the
Okay.
stage. Absolutely.
Okay, because I will, if I can do that through you, or you can give me a name of an
Absolutely.
attorney.
No, you can send those to me and I would definitely filter them through to the appropriate source.
Okay, I think that's all right now. Thank you.
Baker McCormick?
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the elections you just brought up, the clerk's attorney and the Department of Elections attorney was at one point the same, but we, I think in our last budget hearing, we talked about maybe some conflicts there of interest. Have we resolved that, or have we, I guess, do we have a different attorney for those departments now?
Currently, we do not. The conflict of interest would arise on a case-by-case basis.
Okay. And is there a reason why we still don't have that situation resolved?
As I just indicated, it's because it would arise on a case-by-case basis. If there is a conflict of interest, technically Corporation Counsel is to represent both, but if a conflict of interest arises, then we would reach out and have a different attorney.
Okay, so has in the last 2 years there been any cases where There-
I do not believe so.
Okay.
I believe
And,
the interests have been aligned.
and the clerk, Kathy Garrett is satisfied with the office and how it's
Uh,
functioning, I
Yes,
guess.
as far as we're aware, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So to clarify, the clerk, during the process of this last session where people were suing to stay on the ballot, to get people off the ballot, there was no conflict of interest at all that the clerk had found
With the election commission?
with the representation from the legal department, from
No.
your department.
No. Our office would represent the clerk's interests. Yes.
Didn't bring any issues. The clerk
No.
did not bring any issues to you.
No.
Commissioner Kinlaw.
Yeah, just a point of clarity, I guess reiterate the fact that the Corp Counsel is not only the lawyer for election challenges when it when it's made against the clerk, but also the County Board of Canvassers as well, which is always a party when you're dealing with election-related matters. The conflicts often happens when the County Board of Canvassers make a decision that is opposite of what the Corporation Counsel advice is, which the Board of Canvassers can do that.
Right.
So then that would be an issue of an instance of a conflict where they would then get us, would have gotten a outside attorney, but it still all was associated with the clerk's office.
Correct.
Thank you.
So if that happened, you would just give the money for an outside attorney
Correct.
for the clerk to choose whoever she wishes.
Well, actually, the choice would come from Corporation Counsel.
I tend to agree that the clerk probably should have her own attorney. With what you're saying is this is going to
Harder.
happen more often than not. So budget director, I'd like to kind of put that on the burner for the if she so desires. I would like to personally, as chair of the commission, Commission Ways and Means, to ask for that position. Commissioner Baker McCormick.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I agree as well, and I know the clerk has that same position, that she would like to have some autonomy in knowing who that person is and knowing that she can discuss the matters with that attorney. And as you stated, there will be, I'm quite sure, more and more matters where there's overlap, and it would just be good and conducive to the county to have an attorney on hand that's trained in election matters. I know we have one that does everything, and I think that we need to start pulling in some other attorneys that could train in that same area, because it is a expertise that not all attorneys have. So
Oh, we do have two attorneys in Corporation Counsel that handle all the election-related matters.
it's
on
two
behalf-
now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't know it was another one.
No, we have two attorneys in the Office of Corporation Counsel that handle all the election-related matters.
I believe the one we had retired.
And she passed away, correct?
Oh,
She
she did
did?
pass
She did,
away?
yes.
Sorry to hear that.
Oh,
Yeah.
no. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, we had, we were very blessed. We had one of the foremost election attorneys in the entire state of
Yes.
Michigan, and Janet Anderson Davis.
Yeah.
I didn't know she passed. Wow.
Didn't know that.
Late last year, I think it was. Was it late last year?
And she had so much not, and that was the reason why I was saying that we needed
Yes.
someone to come on to kind of,
Well,
if she could have trained them.
no, absolutely. And cross-training across the department is very much a priority at this point. I mean, that is something that both Corporation Counsel and myself are advocating throughout the different divisions within our department, is that we do need that cross-training. We can't afford to have just one attorney that handles a particular subject matter.
So sorry to hear that. I didn't know. Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I don't think Commissioner Kinlock was finished with his thoughts.
I wasn't, but just to piggyback, absolutely condolences, Janet Anderson Davis I wish that we would have known to recognize that. Just wow. Okay, so I would like to just support, I don't know how the budget process worked, but as far as, a line item, creating a line item, I would absolutely agree that the county clerk should have an independent lawyer within her office, similar to what we have with the sheriff department, because there are a lot of times where those conflicts have occurred and differences of opinion. And I would, I know the budget belongs to us, and so I don't know how we make that happen, Madam Chair. Yeah.
Baydun and then Commissioner Anderson.
Um,
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to yield to Commissioner Anderson. I think he was before me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. I just, through the chair, I just wanted to ask you, I see you have 46 full-time attorneys in the department. Is that up or down? Because we don't have historical perspective on that on this.
It's down.
It is down?
Yes.
From what level?
I believe there were over 50. I think it was 52 was the number previously, is sticking out to me. And as I indicated, we do have 6 attorney vacancies currently.
6 vacancies?
Yes.
It looks like here that says number of positions vacant 13. Is that off the 46? That this is on our fiscal agency
Right.
document, so I don't know if you have that.
So we have 6 attorney vacancies, and then there are support staff vacancies, and then vacancies also in the human relations department. So that would be the total vacancies.
So the next question I have is, we have, a lot of use of outside counsel. And is that directly attributed to the number of attorneys that we're lacking? Or is there,
Yes.
is it expertise?
No, actually, the use of outside counsels is multifaceted. One is the staffing short. Sometimes we simply just do not have the resources depending on the type of case or the work that needs to go into a type of case. Another is the expertise. And then we also have situations where there is a conflict of interest between the clients or between our office and what needs to be represented.
And is that number up or down that we're looking at? I don't know what that number is for this year. It doesn't.
The use of outside counsel?
Yes.
The use of outside counsel is definitely up.
But if you could, I don't know if you could provide us some information like actual numbers from last year's budget to this year's budget, and that's being asked for. And I think to have a historical perspective, I think
Numbers in terms of, I'm sorry, Commissioner.
how many attorneys we had,
Okay.
last year and how many we have this year, or you're asking for in this year. And I don't doubt the workload is increased, but it just helps to have a historical perspective on if is it up, is it down, by how much, either way. And it just assists me, I think, and I would think it probably does others too. But all right, thank you.
Before we go on to the next commissioner, I would like to invite our staff who did the analysis that if you have any of the information that commissioners are looking for, If you do have that information, please feel free to chime in and let us know. Because a lot of this may have come up in, a lot of the questions we may have come up in asking during the analysis of the proposed budget.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Sue, for the presentation. So I have a question. Within your department, what area do you see the need to hire more people than other areas? In other words, what area do you need to improve on, if you will, within your department?
Quite frankly, all. We have a shortage, a significant attorney shortage in both our litigation division and in our labor and employment division. Both of those divisions are, I would say, severely understaffed as opposed to some of the other divisions within Corporation Counsel. One of the good things is those are probably also the easiest divisions in which we can obtain outside counsel for those two specific subject matters. But I think in terms of priority, I would say both the litigation and the labor and employment division are equal in the greatest need right now today.
So to that point, Sue, is that where you see the most amount of use for outside counsel for those two areas?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, I was just, thank you, Madam Chair. Are you in the process of hiring any attorneys at this time?
Yes, we have been. Unfortunately, recruitment has proven to be difficult. Again, I don't think that's exclusive to Corporation Counsel or any other department within Wayne County. But yes, we are recruiting. We are actively and heavily recruiting attorneys.
I believe Terrence had his hand up. Yes, go ahead. Okay, thank you. Commissioner Kinlock?
Question, as it relates to the contractual services and then the use of outside attorneys, do you have a breakout of minority and women-owned firms that are being utilized by the Corp Counsel's office?
I do not have a breakout for you today, Commissioner. But I can certainly get that to you.
Thank you.
You could send it to the clerk, then we can disseminate, or send it to Mark Abbo and he'll make sure that, or Terrence, or Mary. They'll make sure, our staff make sure that we all get it. Thank you, Commissioner Kinlock, are you done?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
You, Commissioner Baker McCormick?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The starting salary for a attorney, the county is the average of, or is it by expertise, or how do you?
Yeah, it's a broad, depending on your expertise, your years of practice, and so on.
But is there like the positions you're hiring for right now? One of them, what is the starting salary?
The majority of the positions that we have vacant now are management positions. So like, as I mentioned, our chief of litigation, I'm still acting in that role, although I'm still deputy corporation counsel, but that is a vacant position. And it is also, we also do not have a chief in our labor department. So I believe that salary is $135,000 a year.
Yes, of the, I guess, is it 6 vacancies?
Attorneys, yes.
Yeah, is that on the high end?
Yes,
What's
that's the
on the
high.
low end?
It would, I think they're ACC 4s, which is, I think the ACC 4s top out at 117.
For the outside counsel, do we have a breakdown of what we spend for outside counsel? Overall,
How much has been spent
right, for
In-
outside counsel?
in the last fiscal year? Is that what you're
Yes.
asking? We could certainly get that to you.
We have that in the file.
Is it in the file?
That was part of the packet.
Is it? Okay, what is it? I didn't see that.
We'll get it
It's-
to you shortly.
You know, I guess there isn't a total, but it's detailed by organization that it's spent with, and it shows the matter, how much was spent in 2021 and how much is shown in total for that entity that we're contracting with.
Okay, but not total. That's
Yeah,
what I'm-
we could probably total it.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what percentage are we spending on corporation counsel of our budget overall? Thank you.
You, Mr. Mark Gabo?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So one of the responses that we have about staffing levels being adequate, the response that we got was no, staffing level is not adequate for activities of corporation counsel. I know that your overall budget is increasing by 8% and salaries is increasing by 9%. How close is that going to get us? I mean, how far below market are we when in regards to attorney compensation or even staff compensation?
How far below market we are?
Yes.
In terms of staff attorneys, I think with the new GBA contract, I believe that we've become a lot more competitive. I can tell you, with respect to the supervisory level attorneys, we're still below market. And that includes just right across the street at the city of Detroit. We increased our wages, and I think simultaneously or right after us, they increased their wages. So they've gone significantly higher than we have. That being said, I don't believe that the attorney shortage or difficulties in recruiting attorneys is necessarily just a salary issue. It's compounded by just a work shortage issue, it's compounded by benefit issues and retirement benefit issues. But I will say this, I think our biggest difficulty in terms of hiring or where we are really lacking is in terms of our support staff. Our CBAs really hinder our ability to hire support from the outside for positions.
Are all those support staff union positions or some of them?
Yes,
They're all union
Yep.
positions?
yes.
Okay, so give me a sense of once we get somebody in the department, is there a significant amount of turnover? I mean, what has the turnover rate been this last year, the last couple of years? I mean, are we capable of, so we were just talking about the ability to attract employees. Give me a sense of our ability to retain employees.
Within corporation counsel, I mean, outside of really retirements, which you can't, and we've been able to retain attorneys for the most part. We've lost, obviously like everybody else, we've had some turnover, but I think we've been able to retain attorneys. We've had attorneys who such as our budget director, who was a great assistance to the Office of Corporation Counsel, who ascend to different positions. But outside of that, I mean, I think for the most part, we do retain attorneys in Corporation Counsel.
So looking at the list of contractors that we use, that's a subcontractor work to other attorneys. To me, the cardinal sin of a professional service organization is doing for your client what they can more cheaply do for themselves. Now, I know that when we get into the specificity of litigation, I mean, that's a specialty that sometimes we just don't have the expertise in-house. We have to contract it out, and that's what I see. But I do see a couple of areas, and it specifically in the area of treasurer bankruptcy matters, where last year we spent $178,000, and in total for the contract, 3.7 million. I'm wondering, I mean, is that a discipline that we want to bring in-house?
Well,
And here's really my question. I know that we have different practice groups. We have commercial and real estate, tax, municipal and health, human relations, labor and employment, litigation, and then kind of an all practices group. Do we make an evaluation of what disciplines we may, or practice groups we may want to add versus those that we want to do less of when we're looking specifically at the contracts that we need outsiders for?
Yes, we do. And to answer your question on the bankruptcy is just such a specialized area of law. And that's why we contract that out.
Well, again, what happens if we brought a specialist in that worked directly for us?
We probably wouldn't be able to keep up with the notices that do come in. I believe, and I only know this because the legal services contract is coming up before the commission. I believe the revenue that we collect from the bankruptcy far outweighs that of what we're paying.
Because the only other large one that I really noticed is a contract that we have with Zausmer. This year we paid $564,000, total of 1.5 million. But that contract is going away when the
Right, that's the CJC contract, correct?
That's the CJC contract. That's going away, so we don't
Yeah.
need that specialty anymore.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Becky, then Commissioner Baker McCormick, and then we're going to go on to the next.
Thank you. You just mentioned that the CBAs limit your ability to hire support staff. Can you be more specific?
Sure. We have to, when we hire from the outside under a CBA, we have to hire individuals at the bottom rate. We can't hire somebody anywhere, even though, say, the range is from 30 to 60. I'm just giving a hypothetical. We can't say, okay, yeah, we can hire you at 50, for example, given your experience. We have to hire you at 30. Otherwise the CBA would not permit us to do that.
Is that mainly the problem, or is there other?
That is the biggest problem.
Okay, and I know that's happened in other departments too,
Yes.
because we hear
Yeah.
about it, and it's really a serious issue.
Absolutely.
And I know the theme now from Drew and his group is, and I'm not talking about your department specifically, but it's going to come up.
Yes.
This budget hearing is that we have all these budgeted positions that we're filling every year that have nobody in it, and that talk about maybe putting some of those together and having higher
Wages.
pay for people. But then if we have a CBA that's inhibiting that, then that's a real issue too. So I'm sure we're going to hear more about that as these days go on. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Baker McCormick.
Madam Chair, I wanted to clarify in the law department, do you work with any law schools at all for any type of partnership to
Yes,
attract?
yes.
Okay.
We currently work with several law schools where we have interns in our office throughout the year who are here for semesters at a time. In terms of recruiting through law schools, obviously, we do have postings there. But in the interest of also being frank, is because of the staffing shortage in the office, it also makes it difficult to train new people as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think, Mr. Abbo, if we don't have any more questions for our corporation counsel, we can move on to the next department.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, thank you, Sue, for your presentation. Next department is information technology. We're only 10 minutes behind schedule.
Good morning. Turn on your microphone, please. Great.
Good morning. Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Hector Roman, Director of Department of Information Technology. We've submitted our budget through M&B. It's basically a status quo. I'd like to take this opportunity to talk about some key initiatives that we've done over the past year. Primarily, we've been focusing on customer support, rebuilding our understaffed service desk. As you know, not just the county, but other organizations are understaffed. We've had a lot of turnover in that particular area, and that directly impacts what customer support we can offer, but we've been slowly able to rebuild that. We've also aligned the service desk with our training group, so they can be aligned and gear training towards specific areas that cause numerous trouble tickets. Speaking of training, we've also added an additional trainer and increased our training classes for employees. We're offering basic training to more advanced training sessions. We've also sent out welcome emails to new employees to give them technical tidbits of, when they're onboarded. Before the pandemic, if someone had a question, they can just go to someone's cubicle or office. Hey, how do I do this? How do I check email? And with a lot of people working remote, that luxury has kind of gone out the window, but we sent an email with the most common asked questions and common links for people to help them get started working for the county. Our training group has also reached out to departments to gear specific training based on their needs. So I know they've done it with DPS, with several divisions. If they have, enough employees who just want training on Excel or something else, we can just set aside specific trainings for that department, and it's been working out well. Another thing that we've been focusing on is working with all departments and elected officials to look at their application, their outdated software, to help them move to newer software. It'll help bring more functionality to them, and it'll also make it easier for us to provide support. With the old software, the old legacy software, it's just harder and harder for them to use, and also harder and harder for us to support it. And we also continue to implement new technologies to make it easier for employees to work while they're in the office and working from home. Besides Zoom and Office 365, that SharePoint that we've been deploying, we're also looking at upgrading conference rooms. So, conference rooms throughout the county will have microphones and webcams. So in our hybrid work environment, people can go into a conference room and have a meeting. Some people can be at home, some people can be in the office, but that's the kind of same experience we want to offer throughout the county. And next year, I would like to talk about some plans initiatives that we're working on as well. We've been heavily involved with the CJC infrastructure, with the CJC build out. We're working on establishing all the IT infrastructure for the building. We've also are preparing to assist with staff moves as they move from their existing offices over to the CJC. We do have a document management initiative that we are working with departments, especially the CJC departments, and helping them come up with a solution for papers that they have, boxes of papers. Could it be shredded? Could it be moved over to HQ? Could it be digitized? So that's a big initiative we've been working on. Also, we did establish a contract with the disposal company to prepare, because we do see a big increase of disposal needs as offices move. Our department has and will continue to assist with the ERP implementation. We'd have more staff involved this time around, and we're in lockstep with the other stakeholders in that big project. Lastly, I want to talk about a new website. We are looking at an initiative. We actually have an RFI out there now to completely revamp the county's website to make it easier for citizens to access our site, to get information. We want to make it multilingual, ADA compliant. I've been in a position for almost a year. The biggest complaint I received is the website. The website's hard to find information. It's hard to find services. That's what we are concentrating on, is change the look of the website so when citizens come, they see what services we provide front and center, and make information easier to access.
If I could just interject, I know that the state of Michigan, I can go on there and ask, and they list of everything I can do online. I would love to see that for Wayne County. So if I go on there, ask the question, what can I do online? And it will all be there. And then.
Yes,
No.
absolutely. And we are looking at, including payment processes to make it easier for people to, if we can offer services online as opposed to people having to come into a county office, we want to put that out there. We want to make it easier for people to search for documents, search for services. We want to make it easy for people to sign up, either text message or email, for any kind of notifications. So there's a lot of functionality that we're looking to add to the new website.
And upload.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. I just wondered if how are you looking at, are you using what the revisions to the website is going to be, what they're going to be? Are you working with any, just plain users from the outside that to make sure that the ability of someone to locate what they're looking for? Because I know sometimes those of us that use it know where to go to find something, but it's not clear to someone that's new coming to the site. And just, I'll wait to hear your response.
Oh, no, absolutely. Our web team, during the RFI, they've invited representatives from several, if not all, offices and departments throughout the county. There's a pretty big list to make sure we get their feedback, but we also anticipate there'll be focus groups, both internal employees and also from citizens as well. But yes, we are definitely taking that into account.
I think the ability to navigate on the site is a major problem, as well as content and, being able to find that content that someone's looking for, including, I would think, some of our offices too, as well as myself. Once in a while, I'm just, having to spend so much more time to find what I'm looking for. The other thing is, I know our chair had asked about something last year about our folks that are incarcerated to be able to communicate with their family members. And is your department working on that as well?
No, that would actually be the sheriff department, but we could definitely talk to them and offer some assistance and guidance.
Okay, because I know they're working on getting some type of a tablet system, and I know that right now, I think, as a lot of things, electronic things are sort of a backup on trying to get some of the things, the products. But I think it's important that, I'm sure your department could have a great deal assist the sheriff's department with that. So, but anyway, I know that's, our chair had mentioned something about that about a year ago.
They're coming today, actually, the sheriff.
Pardon me?
The sheriff's department's coming today.
Right. So that'd be another opportunity. Thank you.
Yes, good afternoon. Good morning still, sorry about that. So look, I absolutely want to say that the help desk has been very helpful for me as I transitioned as a new commissioner and getting used to all of the different signing ins, logging in, and all the other requirements. So I would absolutely say that I've seen and I've been it's been very useful for my office. What I would also like to say is that the website is one that is hard to navigate, hard to find items on there that you need. And oftentimes when you call a department and they say, oh, it's on the website, you're like, where? When you actually go and try to find the actual panels where you can find what you're looking for. One thing that is, I know a lot of us are pretty much tied into Microsoft and the legacy platforms associated with all of Microsoft's offerings. But there are some other options out there, specifically within the Google world, where they're using AI technology to absolutely have these virtual agents that are able to help guide you through and processing applications, claims, and other sort of services that you need to have addressed. So just wondering, have you all looked, as we are seeing other software companies making headway in and trying to improve customer service and also specifically navigating, the maze of government services?
Yes, absolutely. During the RFI, they've gotten a lot of feedback from a lot of companies out there who host websites, who help organizations create websites. And that's some of the features they're looking at is help with artificial intelligence, or I think they call it bots, where if you go to the site, hey, how can I help you? That's functionality that we're looking to add in our new website. And I also want to say that we're not just going to copy what's on our current website over to the new platform. We are looking for professional services to assist us and assist departments with, we just want the current content that's not updated, migrated over to the new platform.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hector, all right, so to me, one of the most important projects at IT in Wayne County for a long time is ERP. I know that we had some, a rough start on the last one, and I know that we're working through some of those issues. What can you tell us about it regarding what progress you've made in re-engaging on that project? When we might expect conclusion or some progress on it? Because my opinion is specifically with JD Edwards is we are losing a significant amount of full-time equivalents because we have to deal with that antiquated system.
No, I would agree. As far as the progress and dates, I actually have to punt that over to our CFO. But we have deeply looked into what went wrong the first time, and we're making sure those mistakes aren't made a second time. We have a lot from my department. We have a lot more people involved that previously were not part of the project, and for some reason, I don't know why they were not as engaged, or they weren't asked to be engaged. But I'm not having that. Not going to make the same mistake as the first time around. So we are getting more people involved from my department to make sure we're assisting MNB and personnel with the implementations and everything goes as well as it can be.
Do we have a timeline at all?
Do we have a timeline?
Good morning, Drew Vandegrift, Wayne County Budget Director. I agree, Huey is the best person to speak on this, and I believe he is going to be presenting to the County Commission in a number of days. I have seen timelines for portions of this, Mark, and I could dig that up and share that with you.
So we should wait until we get to the M&B presentation to talk about it?
I would encourage that.
Okay. We'll make a note. Thanks, Drew. Hector, you're off the hook. Well, the other question I have is, so with JD Edwards, we got so far behind on improvements to technology What's your view of where we stand otherwise and all the other technology that we have? Because it would seem to me, I mean, last year we had significant surplus in our general fund. And that's in addition to a $25 million prior period adjustment that increased our fund balance for the prior year. Now would be the time, if we really want to make improvements, that we should do it so that we don't get behind the 8 ball again. And one of the beauties of the ERP system that we were going to put in was upgrades were automatic. We didn't have to do anything different other than allowing the upgrades to occur so that we were always up to date on the most current software technology. I mean, just generally, where do we stand with the department on technology, equipment? And I'm talking about hardware and software from your view.
Sure. I can start off with hardware, the infrastructure, because that was, I was leading that group for the past 8 or 9 years. We've been able to invest in infrastructure throughout the county. So 10 years ago, we were coming to the office, we're putting out fires because equipment will go bad in this building or that building. But we've been able to plan and invest. So we no longer have that issue. So now we're more proactive. As we move to Office 365 and SharePoint, it's doing exactly what you mentioned. It's just getting upgraded. We don't host it, it's in the cloud. When there's a new version, we automatically get updated. On the application side, that's something that, as I mentioned, we are focusing on are those applications. I can give a perfect example. Is an application called Web Focus that we're very outdated. Several departments use it. One of my team leads actually researched and looked at a plan to get off the platform we're on and move 4 or 5 different versions to the most current version. And that's something that we haven't done as well in the past, that we are looking to concentrate on going forward, is not just big applications, but small applications throughout the county that causes, if something goes down, it causes basically, citizens pain because we can't offer services as we should be. So that's the mindset that we are doing, is we're evaluating legacy applications throughout the county.
One last question, Hector. From a hardware and software perspective and managing the department, what keeps you up at night? Or do you sleep like a baby?
No. It's funny. I was at a cybersecurity conference years ago, and this guy came up and said, "Hey, I think about cybersecurity all the time. I sleep like a baby." This is before I had kids, so I didn't know what that meant. But he says, "I wake up every 3 hours crying," and so now I understand what that means. But no, I absolutely. What keeps me up at night is just making sure the services we provide are up and running. Most of our departments are basically Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, but we have critical departments, the sheriff's department, medical examiners that never shut down. And I'm always just making sure, my team is making sure that the services that we have to provide are always up and running.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We met with Google, and they had some interesting ideas about technology and how we could improve ours. And I was wondering, did you meet with them as well? Have you had any meetings with?
Yes. Yes, we've met with them probably about a year and a half ago. We've had lots of meetings, seeing if we could utilize any of their offerings, any of their services. At that time, there was one project we're looking at. We're working with the prosecutors. They had a big need for storage with cases and videos and body cams. But unfortunately, Google at that time could not store CJIS data. So they couldn't store law enforcement data. So that was one project we were looking at, but because they weren't certified in the state of Michigan, then we couldn't proceed. Other ones we kind of looked at was website, but they would host it, and that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for a complete redesign of what we currently have.
So out of that, did you get any ideas about how we could improve our services?
We did, and we still continue. I meet with the rep, I think his name is Mark, every few months just to keep in touch. They reach out to see if we have any need, and we have the technical folks talking to technical folks to see if there's something that we could proceed with.
Anything, Commissioner Terry Marecki?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So Hector, is your budget pretty much based on chargebacks?
Yes, it is chargebacks, yes.
It's all chargebacks. Okay. And I just have one quick question. How is that city work module working?
The city works?
Yeah.
Working.
Or should I wait for DPS?
Probably, but we also offer, we provide them technical support with that. If you want to say a word. If I can have Robert Johnson, his group helps with DPS with that project.
Hello, Robert Johnson, Division Director of Technology Experience. The new CityWorks module, the permit land and licensing module, went online at the end of April, beginning of May. They've been using it since. It's been going very well since the rollout has occurred. It is still a legacy application. It's several additions behind, but now they're working, now that that has been deployed, they're working at upgrading it and bringing it into the most modern version that they can bring it up to. Currently, they're using it well. They're using it every day over in the engineering group. They have some changes that they're requiring through some reports, but it has replaced an old legacy application that was crashing constantly, and they're not having that issue anymore. In addition to that module, the AMS module, which is used by roads, is still in use every day as well.
So this CityWorks, it's speeding up residential and commercial permitting.
Yes, there are two modules. There's one module that is the commercial and, yes, I believe residential permitting. That's one half. The other half is the AMS module, which deals with road complaints, tracking where work crews are going, and that sort of piece as well.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear about the permitting because that has been a real issue throughout townships and municipalities. So I'm glad it's working well.
Yep, and with the new upgrade that will be coming online, ideally by the end of this year, they're looking to add some online functionality as well. But exactly what that online functionality is would be a question for DPS.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
With that, if there's any more questions from staff from Mark. Okay, this would conclude our IT presentation. Thank you very much. You're doing a very good job.
Thank you.
I've known Hector for a long, long time when he first got here. Congratulations on being on top.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Glad to have you there. We are about 5 minutes running late. So Mark, would you please introduce our next presenters?
The next department reporting is Personnel and Human Resources.
Good morning.
Perfect, thank you. Good morning, I'm Donna Wilson. I'm the Wayne County Personnel Human Resources Director. I appreciate this opportunity to present the Personnel Human Resources budget. I would like to thank the County Executive Warren Evans and his administration for giving me the first opportunity. This is my first budget presentation, so bear with me. The mission of the Human Resources Department is to acquire talent and to retain the right talent for the county. PHR ensures positions are filled by the most qualified, capable, committed, and available employees to develop an environment that is able to effectively support both internal and external stakeholders. We have many services provided through 6 divisions: labor relations, human resources strategy and informatics, talent management, employee engagement, administration, and the Civil Service Commission. We take pride in our role as the county executive's agent at the bargaining table and the services provided to the 11 departments, elected offices, and you, the commission. As of July 27th, 2022, the county had 3,200 employees with 2,152 full and part-time union affiliated employees, represented by 26 local unions under 17 different collective bargaining agreements. As the county was leaving the financial crisis, a worldwide pandemic hit in 2020. COVID-19 has left some real challenges in relating to recruitment and retention. However, we have begun the process. The Evans administration did not wait to begin addressing some of the systemic issues of wage stagnation or union agreements. We went in and started bargaining. In 2021, we initiated and entered into agreements that created career paths for classifications like court clerks, juvenile detention specialists, registered nurses, and attorneys. In addition, we did the Pathway to 15 that brought the minimum wage of some of our classifications like clerks and laborers up and continue to provide increases each fiscal year up until 2023. We've negotiated all but 2 remaining county unions, so we've been really busy. We may not be all the way there at full market rate, full employment, or reduced turnover, but we are making strides. Our budget submission as part of the overall county roadmap and strategy to recruit and retain and engage employees has been submitted. We offer wages and benefits and career paths to our employees. We offer tuition reimbursement and assistance, educational loan forgiveness, and more. As we continue on our pathway forward, I'm confident that the stakeholders will have on their mind the services, sustainability, continuity of county services while we continue to make informed decisions. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Mark Gabo.
Thank you, Don. I appreciate it. You know, I know that we're talking about the budget for personnel and human resources, but the real overriding question for your department is really what's going on with the rest of the county. I mean, you're involved and you help manage and guide the delivery of personnel and the needs of the county through your department. So last year, the theme of budget hearings was the inability of the county to attract and retain employees. And we had approximately 3,000 employees at the time, 4,000 budgeted positions. This year, it's approximately the same, maybe a little bit worse. I know that you know, in response to some of the questions that we've asked you regarding that, you know, you responded in the right way. I mean, we're branding and marketing. We're removing unnecessary measures or employment barriers, trying to provide flexibility, trying to provide distance training. I mean, those are all good things, but I'm not seeing results. I mean, do we have, I mean, and Drew kind of hit on a strategy that I think might work, which is good, but do we have a long-term strategy to deal with this? Because I continue to see the loss of institutional knowledge in Wayne County, and to me, that's extremely troubling.
I think that Wayne County is really a reflection of where we are as a nation in hiring and recruitment. You know, we've heard terms like the Great Resignation, the Great Reconsideration. There are many reasons, particularly coming out of the pandemic, why we have such turnover. So looking at a long-term strategy, yes, to reduce the vacancy rate to get a true measure of the actual employment gap that we have, I think is a great first step. There are other steps that we need to look at as far as our ability to continue to retain and have what they say, a 21st century human resources agency. We have to look at some of our civil service rules, our collective bargaining agreements. We talked about the ERP program. Those are, we still have some legacy things that we're dealing with. It's just not wages.
Well, last year, there was discussion about a study to evaluate where we stand in our marketability or not marketability, our competitiveness. And you made a comment in your response. We asked the question, is there anything inhibiting growth? And as part of your response, you say, if this budget is approved effective 10/1/22, 2022, we will be able to continue our relationship with pay factors, our compensation partner, which will aid us in continued design and development of internal and external compensation analysis, classification structure review, and possible alignment where needed. Where are your expectations on that to go? And do you really expect that the difference between employees and budgeted positions to drop in the coming year? And, can you give me a sense of how much you expect it to drop? What are your goals?
Well, I am hoping that our budgeting process and looking at position alignment will be true to how we deliver services. Technology aids to that, but the departments are in the best position to say what positions they need. We have a vacancy rate, but not all vacancies are requisitioned. When they're requisitions, that's how we step in and help provide the employees or the recruits that departments need. So departments are in the best position to say what talent they need and how many. As far as pay factors and using them for wages and marketability studies, they are a service that we consult on a continuous basis when we look at classifications and increases.
So if a department came to you and said, okay, we've got 100 budgeted positions that are unfilled, we'd like to reduce that and use that compensation to increase the wages and benefits of the others, what would your response be?
So we'll go to the bargaining table and negotiate as we have, not even having the reductions. That's what we do. That's our mandate.
Thank you.
Once you know what positions you need, I know that we have a lot of vacancies. We've been doing a lot with a lot less. And there are those positions, I believe, but you're in the best position to judge that, is that maybe some positions could be merged. The pay could be increased, or this, whatever it is that we're going to do to retain and also to hire. Would it be a good idea to sit down with, before you start that big process, sit down with the unions, sit down with the people who actually do the work, and see where there's a big conference kind of thing around a big table to actually be able to speak freely and see if there could be some consensus made to get this process moving a little faster. I know that sometimes we sit in our offices and we say, I know we can do A, B, C, and D. The best, I believe, the best people who can tell us are the workers. And they could tell us if they're doing 2 jobs now and they're getting paid for 1. They could tell their union, hey, if we did this, I could make more money. I would be willing to do more work. Is any of those outreach sort of like that? Not necessarily that, but like that, where we work with the unions up front instead of bringing things to them to say, we're offering this to you. In other words, have them be part of the upfront process.
One of the great things about the county is that we do have great working relationships with each of our bargaining units, each of our unions. And so we do have provisions on special conferences. We meet and talk with them on a consistent basis. They join on the local levels in those labor management meetings. So we do have mechanisms and continuously work with the unions locally and at their bargaining agents.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mark Abo touched on this. We are losing many staff with institutional knowledge in Wayne County. Wayne County, it's very evident, it's a launching pad for a lot of successful professionals after they leave Wayne County, because they really do gain the experience in Wayne County. I think you touched on it a little bit, but what are we trying to do to recruit the new young talent, this new generation that's versed with everything that seems nowadays, from technology to social media to everything else? And is it the pay? I know we don't even come close to other counties like Oakland County in terms of pay. I'd like to see more people coming to work for Wayne County, obviously. I'd just like to hear what are the strategies that we need to follow to recruit more people and keep them.
Well, one of you indicate maybe persons who are still in school. So we've partnered with Wayne County Community College District, and we're on their campus actually doing interviews and doing the testing for those classifications that we test. So that's one strategy. Our vendor applicant pro, where we post positions, they have a mechanism where we can send email alerts. Instead of doing the letters and mailing or the emails, we can now text. And so, there's always pluses and minuses when introducing different technologies, but there's an adage, you're going to miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So we're looking at everything that we can do to get Wayne County out there and to recruit.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. I know this is your first one, so a little nerve-wracking. Just like I asked Corp Counsel, what is the most restrictive part of the CBA from you hiring people at this point?
So, the unions would never bring you guys up on an unfair labor practice, but we have continual relationships. And so I don't want to necessarily say that the collective bargaining agreements are 100% restrictive. There is some language. There are probably, in some agreements, maybe even 15 steps before we can even go to the outside. So, that's offering members the ability to transfer within their work site, ability to take promotional exams, going to the recall list. All those things are part of the CBA that, as a member of a union or a previous employee, I would want recall rights. So there are steps before we can even get to posting. Once we post, again, I think Corp Counsel referenced some challenges in hiring salaries, especially new hires, that, we have to look at the agreements, and some agreements have clauses where if we're bringing people in, we need to also elevate the salaries of the current staff and not necessarily look at education and experience.
I appreciate that answer. Just a couple more questions. So this pay factors then, are they looking at other counties with this?
Yes.
Their compensation and their salaries. So I always hear Wayne County has the hardest time getting employees, keeping employees. I don't even know if that's true or not, comparing to Macomb and Oakland. But if it is, and I don't know if it is, then what are their CBAs different than our CBAs?
I would think that some CBAs have considerable differences. I've never compared the 2 or the 4 or 5 CBAs. What we look at pay factors for is look at what the other counties, municipalities, and some employers are paying for like services, like classifications.
Okay, like services. So what is the Labor Relations Division doing about as far as recruiting? Are they involved in recruiting and all that type of thing as well?
is I phrase, every hand's on deck. If you have a relationship with someone, if we have a position on LinkedIn, it's all hands on deck. So that's not their main focus, but if we're currently recruiting for labor relations. Joe Martinico has retired, who is our chief labor relations negotiator. We have asked Matt Cremonis to step in interimly, and so he's been appointed as the interim. And so we have labor relations analysts to fill. So they are going to be heavy in that recruitment, but their role in negotiating contracts, just like we talked about career paths, they were instrumental in negotiating the career paths and how you move from a court clerk 1 to a court clerk 2.
Okay. And just one more question. There was I don't know if you answered these questions yourself or some of your staff. It talked about PeopleSoft being replaced by Oracle, which is currently planned to resume in October of 22. Was it? What did it mean?
That means that the stall with the ERP project impacted us with the PeopleSoft.
Okay, and it's supposed to resume in October 2022. And then the phase 1 is anticipated to go live January 1st of 2024.
Correct, the phase 1, and that's the human resource capital management system.
Okay, and I know we're going to get, we're having a committee of the whole on the ERP, I think in September.
Yes.
Up, so, okay, thank you.
Okay.
Oh, I forgot my boy. Tell him.
Yes. First, I'd like to say that your department, I can just only imagine all of the calls and conversations that's going on between you and these various departments in regards to the need for more hires. One thing that I wanted to know was the timeline for processing. How long does it take to actually get applications from the time applicants file to the point of actually creating an eligibility list for the departments to consider actually bringing people, onboarding individuals? And then I have a subsequent question after that.
All right, timelines. Unfortunately, with the systems that we have, because they're pretty manual, I could not tell you from the time a requisition has started to fill. We are launching a automated requisition process that will be working with budget and have developed some things so that we can create those timelines for you. The other part to the, go ahead and ask the other part of the question. You talked about timelines. One of the things that when you look at a posting, when we have no end date, that may signal to a candidate that we're not serious in filling the position. So one of the things that I've asked the talent staff to do, when we post reoccurring postings, tell them that it's a reoccurring posting, but we're hiring immediately to reduce that timeline. When departments post and they want to post for 6 months out, we got to look at is that really going to generate the excitement? Now, if it's a very hard to recruit position, we may want to shorten the timelines and possibly repost if we don't get candidates. But that's a signal that we're working on, that candidates who are looking, if you have something that's 6 months out, 4 months out, they may say, oh, they're not serious, but we're serious.
Absolutely. Okay, the follow-up question is, as far as the factors, what are some of the key factors that have prevented individuals from moving forward through the hiring process? Have you been able to, is it any of the questions? I'm talking about from that standpoint, and then other factors, whether drug testing or other things that would prevent individuals from being hired. What are those key factors that are limiting our ability to have a strong pool?
Well, traditionally, we only offered exams in the Guardian building. And so we had to do something different. Even through COVID, we tried to offer some exams. But now that we are doing them virtually, we're also doing them Wayne County, so people don't have to come down, pay for parking, free parking on campus. And so those are maybe just some of those physical logistical barriers. What we are also in the process of doing is creating a study guide for each of the exams by using old questions to try to help people prepare for the exam. So those are, just a couple of things in the exam process. Also looking at what classifications we test for. If an accredited university gives them a degree, do we necessarily need to test for that classification? So those are some of the things that we're working, looking at the civil service rules, looking at the collective bargaining agreements, and looking at what makes a great business sense, talking to the departments.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. Martha G. Scott?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you. I'm glad to know that you're working with Wayne County Community College. That's really great. Now, has everybody been brought up to the minimum wage?
Yes,
They
and that
have.
happened in October.
There's no one that's below that now.
No.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Baker McCormick.
You just talked about testing and that there is a need not to test in every area. Maybe I'm not, I guess, familiar with the whole history, but is there a reason that we test for any job? I mean, what is the testing supposed to do?
Historically, that's how all public sectors,
Right.
government agencies established employment lists. Okay, so historically, testing was a mechanism to allow mass recruiting. If you look at, the history, it probably started in the 50s after, a lot of the veterans coming back. So testing was one mechanism. We continue to test for some of the classifications that don't require a degree or maybe a high school diploma or a more technical skills. And I'm probably going to say it wrong, but I believe like the land surveyor, there's a map test that they have to have. So there are some tests that we will continue, but for all the tests, we're looking at it test by test.
Great. Yeah, because I was just, I guess in my mind, to get a position in most other outside of county or government, you don't necessarily have to take a test. So why are we still reverting back to a test that may not be required? Now I can see other qualifications, but not all should. And I don't know, like you said, for a surveyor or something like that, more technical, that of course would be something we should do. But for other positions, I'm not really sure why we're still testing.
And we're working with the departments going case by case. It's just not a wholesale.
Okay, great. And yes, it is great that you're working with colleges, but is Wayne County Community College the only college that we're working with?
No, we're trying to establish relationships with all the career placement offices, even to the extent of going to high schools, because we do have positions where if you're going to school locally, you could still work for us, receive tuition reimbursement. So we're establishing relationships with all the career services for various colleges, and also counselors at high schools going to career days.
So when we are advertising to those colleges, are we letting, I guess, the students know that if you come work for us, we'll pay your tuition? I mean, like a direct.
Right. We are putting it in the postings and our advertisements. Yes, we are making people aware of what public sector and specifically Wayne County employment will offer you.
Then my last question, how many collective bargaining units do we bargain with?
The county bargains with 12. And then you have the courts with the other 5.
I'm sorry.
And you have the courts with the other 5 that we sit at the table with.
So it's 12 in addition to additional 5.
For the courts.
All right. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Were you able to move some of the people that were making $15 an hour into a better position? So they don't feel like they're still at the minimum wage after we raise the minimum wage. So
Well, and again, that's one great thing about working for the county. Even though we do still offer exams, people have the opportunity to promote education, move around. So when I talk about career paths, that's what I'm talking about, that you can, if you enter the county as a court clerk and decide to go to college, go to law school, we still have positions for you.
did we go and look at those who were making $15 an hour? Look at them to see if we needed to give them $15.50 of course, with the collective bargaining units.
Right. So the $15 an hour was the first step. And then they also will receive 2.5 each fiscal year up into 10/1/23, the current contracts.
Those positions that you are offering to high schoolers, that you are promoting, I should say, to high schoolers, is there a way to break those out for us so we commissioners could help you as we go through and we speak in our college or our high schools or some in colleges, and that way we could actually help promote and also put it on our Facebook pages or whatever media that we use to assist you, because we would love, love, love to help you.
Sure, we can develop a targeted recruitment for non-degree classifications. Yes.
Mark Abbo?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Ms. Wilson. It was very
Sorry,
enlightening.
Commissioner Baker McCormick?
Wanted to clarify, we talked about institutional knowledge and making sure that we maintain our current staffing, but also succession planning. Is that your department, and what are you doing in that area?
So succession planning is also part of the services Human Resources offers. And looking at your workforce statistics, having the data available to anticipate retirements or anticipate movements is a tool that we use. We don't have as robust reporting as some other employers, but what we do have and understand the succession planning is that first you got to recruit and train. You got to transfer the knowledge and prepare others to receive the knowledge. So looking at our management level positions and their distinguished managers training, those are part of the things that we talk to managers. How do you train your staff, and how do you train staff to replace you in succession planning? So succession planning is a broad term, but there are many things that we are currently doing to continue that.
Oh, I know at our last budget hearing, which you weren't here at that time, but we talked about retirees that came back to work for the county, and making sure that those retirees are making sure that they train while they're here, because that's why we bring them back, because we don't have anyone to take their place. But are we focusing on that at all?
Bringing retirees back is, again, one tool in the toolbox. Standard operating procedures, training and recruitment, all those things are available to us, and we have used them. So yes, we have brought retirees back in certain departments. Now, that's not necessarily what I do, but I know departments have been doing it.
Right, but what I'm asking is, can we stipulate that while those retirees, while we're bringing them back in, that we have someone that is going to, as a mandate, shadow them so that they can get that knowledge, and we won't, have to bring them back at each year?
And again, I can work with departments to provide those recommendations, yes.
Thank you.
Now, Mr. Mark Gabel, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Donna, for your presentation. That concludes the morning session. The caterer is here setting up, so we can break for lunch and plan on returning around 12:30 to hear the presentation by probate court and the sheriff's office.
Thank you. As chair of Ways and Means, I decided that I would give an opportunity to members to chair certain segments of our budget. So I'll be coming to you one by one and ask you if you would chair. I'll give you a day or two advance notice of things that I think might be interesting to you to chair part of the budget. So this afternoon, we will start probate court, and I will have Commissioner Kinlock chair that portion. And then later on, when the sheriff's department comes, that portion will be chaired by Vice Chair Sam Baydoun. So I thought it would be kind of fun to have you see different faces up here besides myself and give you a little opportunity. Each of you will have an opportunity to stand here and run portion of the Ways and Means Committee meeting. So that's my way of giving back to you as my last budget process. So have a great lunch, and we'll see you back at 12:30 here. Thank you.